Hello, I'm coming at you with the original dry hopped, funky Brett beer in the most unique bottle, basically a bowling pin. It's Orval. Orval is really the only product made by the monks at the Abbaye, what do they call it? It's like Abbaye de Saint Notre Dame or something. Usually you just call it, Orval. It's just the name of the brewery. But it's a Trappist beer. It's the only Trappist beer that uses Brettanomyces, to my knowledge, and only one that's dry hopped, except for like now Spencer Trappists in America. They do IPAs and stuff like that. And it's a kind of forgotten beer. Definitely everyone's seen this bottle. But what's special about this is that it's almost 3 years old. It's 3 months short of its third birthday. And when they bottle it, it's 6.2% alcohol volume, but they add Brettanomyces to the bottle. So the deal is, this is just like a kind of malty Belgian pale ale, brewed with Belgian yeast and all that stuff. But then they dry hop it. Can't remember with what varieties, but I'm pretty sure it's some mild English varieties they use to dry hop it. But they dry hop it and then they put it in the bottle with Brettanomyces and let it bottle condition for 3 months. So you can't get this, 1 day old and get really, really intense dry hopping. But if you get it within a year, you're going to notice some, European herbal tea-like hops for sure. But if you age it after a year, 2 years, it gets real big on the Brett Funk farm barnyard, that sort of mushroomy hay-like smell. But then once you get close to 3 years, I've noticed that it starts getting a little more tart, more fruity, losing some of the funk. I have actually had a bottle that was about this age before, and I was like, I should have totally done a video review of this. It's really interesting. And I highly recommend everyone trying Orval. It's not for everyone's tastes, but pay close attention to the bottling date. It says it on there really clearly, because if you don't like it at one age, you might like it at another age. If you want it to be more hoppy, less funky, get it when it's young. Good puffs there. And there was a very light sediment. It got a little stirred up, but not much, considering how old this beer was. Oh yes. Very carbonated, crazy head. A little bit dirty. But as you can see, it's a little dark, and I poured that kind of hard. And I didn't let this chill for very long. If you let it chill overnight, it probably won't be quite as heady, but I love the big crazy head you get from these wild beers, especially the non-sour Brettanomyces ones, because they don't have a lot of acid that kills the head. Even if you have lots of carbonation in a really sour beer, usually your head's going to die down really quickly. But since this one is only going to have a teeny bit of acid, just whatever oxygen was in the bottle can then be eaten by the Brettanomyces, and that creates a little bit of acetic acid, which is literally vinegar, but it's going to be a very small amount. You can only get a good amount of acetic acid if you let a beer age in a barrel that lets in lots of oxygen for years. Then you can get some real sour Brett beers without using any lactobacillus. And it's really, really beautiful carbonation coming up there. Lots and lots of tiny bubbles. It's a little humid, so we're kind of losing that, but I'm sure you can see in there. Really nice head. Yes, it's turning. Yeah, that's really nice. I always tell myself I should buy a bunch of these bottles and age them all, but then I always drink them before they get really old. But yeah, it's entered into the super fruity phase of Brett, with just a hint of the barnyard and, I don't know, no real hop aroma at all coming out of this anymore. But it's really big on stone fruits, orchard fruits. It's appley, crabapple, peach, a little bit of cherry going on in there. And slight hay notes, not real funky. Yeah, I think this might be maybe super fresh Orval. Actually, I haven't had super fresh Orval in a while, but I'm thinking this is probably my favorite version of it because I really like when you get deep, ripe stone fruit out of Brettanomyces, and that's definitely what's happening with this one. I do like funkiness too, but it just smells really good, really good. It almost smells, you know, like the same kind of fruitiness you get from any IPA. Yeah, but there's going to be a teeny bit of tartness, I can tell. It doesn't quite make my mouth water, almost. And we got a really cool rocky head forming. And it's a lot drier than I think it's going to be. The thing about Orval is that it always has a slight phenolic note that's combined with the malt and the fruitiness. It reminds me a little bit of cherry cough syrup. There's a little bit of a leathery quality. Yeah, I'm getting more of an aged funkiness. And the taste, the aroma is just so fruity. And it's so light and effortless on your tongue. I would say fluffy, but it's even lighter than that. With light little prickles from the carbonation, and it's a lingering cherry tang that kind of coats your tongue. And it turns to lots of leathery hay type flavors. A little bit spicy, some black peppery notes, herbal. I would say it still has some herbal quality to it, even if I'm not getting fresh hops. Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, you might have to get past that, you know, phenolic cherry cough syrup sort of thing I'm noticing. A lot of people might not like that, but this kind of beer is American brewers are making dry hop Brett beers, Brett IPAs and things, but I guess Americans still aren't going crazy for them. Brettanomyces is just such it's a beloved yeast and flavor, but most people like it when it's mixed in a barrel-aged sour with lots of lactobacillus, that sort of thing. But I really like the funk. I want the funk. I don't care about, biting sour qualities these days. Is this on high? Oops, yeah. Usually do it at this amount of brightness. Even though it's so dry and light, it still has a slight, almost velvety feel. Like it feels a little substantial when I swish it around in my tongue. It's not like I'm drinking a canned seltzer or something. Yeah, just a masterfully made beer. They do apparently make a low alcohol version of this called Petit Orval that's available only at the brewery if you go there in the middle of nowhere. This is fantastic. Rating it, I guess, for a beer like this, it's like, why even rate it? It's beyond ratings and my subjective opinion about it right now. It's a really special beer, and I think more people should try it, and a lot of people don't know. It doesn't say anything on here advertising it as a dry hop Brett beer. But it is, and it's available everywhere, and it's cheaper than the dry hop Brett beer bottles you might get from an American brewery, and done a lot better, but it's not packed full of, hip hops. And it is a little bit amber. It's definitely a Belgian pale ale first, but then they mess with it at the end, and it becomes something really, really nice. But yes, over a 4 for this baby. And I recommend trying a couple different aged bottles, buying a couple, letting one age for a year and one 2 years. It's a beer that I'm not afraid to do that with. I know it's gonna be good and interesting. Whereas there have been a lot of beers that aren't really. I've aged them and I've been like, wait a minute, I don't like this at this age. It's not really good. But this one just keeps developing and getting more interesting. In my opinion, better. I don't know if I'll have the patience to save up one for 4 years, hopefully. But Orval needs to get a little bit more credit, a little more attention, I think. And a lot of brewers and true intense beer lovers love Orval. So seek it out. Goodbye.